Welcome to this comprehensive guide on supply and demand, the most fundamental concept in economics. Supply and demand are the twin forces that determine prices in every market around us. Whether you are buying groceries, filling up your car with fuel, or looking for a new apartment, these two forces are constantly at work behind the scenes. Understanding how they interact will give you powerful insights into why prices change, how markets function, and what drives economic decision-making. By the end of this video, you will have a solid grasp of this essential economic principle that affects our daily lives. Let's start with supply. Supply represents the quantity of a product or service that producers are willing and able to offer for sale at different price points. Think of it from a seller's perspective. When prices are high, sellers are motivated to supply more products because they can earn greater profits. Conversely, when prices fall, the quantity supplied decreases because it becomes less profitable to produce. Several factors influence supply levels. Production costs play a major role. If it costs more to make something, suppliers may offer less. Technology improvements can boost supply by making production more efficient. Weather conditions affect agricultural supply, and government policies can either encourage or restrict production. The relationship between price and quantity supplied follows a predictable pattern known as the law of supply. This law states that as price increases, the quantity supplied increases, and as price decreases, the quantity supplied decreases. When we graph this relationship, we get an upward sloping curve called the supply curve. The upward slope makes intuitive sense. Imagine you are a coffee shop owner. If the price of coffee rises significantly, you would be motivated to brew and sell more coffee to maximize your profits. On the other hand, if coffee prices drop too low, you might reduce how much you offer because it is no longer worth the effort and cost. Now let's turn to the other side of the equation, demand. Demand represents the quantity of a product or service that consumers are willing and able to purchase at different price points. From a buyer's perspective, lower prices are attractive and encourage people to buy more. Higher prices have the opposite effect, reducing how much consumers are willing to purchase. Multiple factors drive demand. Consumer preferences obviously matter. If something becomes trendy, demand increases. Income levels affect purchasing power. The more money people have, the more they can buy. The availability and prices of related goods also influence demand. For instance, if the price of tea rises, demand for coffee might increase as people switch. The relationship between price and quantity demanded also follows a predictable pattern called the law of demand. This law states that as price increases, the quantity demanded decreases, and as price decreases, the quantity demanded increases. When graphed, this creates a downward sloping curve called the demand curve. This inverse relationship is something we experience constantly. Think about your favorite restaurant. If they suddenly doubled their prices, you would probably visit less often. But if they ran a 50% off sale, you might go more frequently. The demand curve captures this natural human behavior. People buy more when things are cheaper and less when they are expensive. Here is where things get really interesting. When we put the supply curve and demand curve together on the same graph, they intersect at a point called market equilibrium. This equilibrium point represents a state of perfect balance in the market. At the equilibrium price, the quantity that producers want to supply exactly matches the quantity that consumers want to buy. It is marked as point E on the graph. At this price, there is no surplus of unsold goods sitting on shelves, and there is no shortage with empty shelves and frustrated customers. The market naturally gravitates toward this equilibrium point through the price mechanism. Let's dive deeper into what equilibrium means for the market. At the equilibrium point, the market achieves two important outcomes simultaneously. First, there is no shortage. Consumers can buy what they want at this price without facing empty shelves or waiting lists. Second, there is no surplus. Producers can sell all they produce at this price without having excess inventory piling up in warehouses. This balance is remarkable because it happens naturally without any central planning. The price acts as a signal that coordinates the independent decisions of millions of buyers and sellers. When markets are in equilibrium, resources are being allocated efficiently, and both consumers and producers are satisfied. Markets do not always stay in equilibrium. Sometimes they experience imbalances, and understanding these situations is crucial. A surplus occurs when the price is above equilibrium. At this higher price, producers want to supply more than consumers want to buy, creating excess inventory. To clear this surplus, sellers typically lower their prices, which increases demand and reduces supply until equilibrium is restored. A shortage happens when price is below equilibrium. At this lower price, consumers want to buy more than producers want to supply, creating scarcity. This scarcity puts upward pressure on prices. As prices rise, demand decreases and supply increases until the market returns to balance. These self-correcting mechanisms are fundamental to how free markets operate. Supply and demand are not just abstract concepts. They shape prices in every market around us. In agriculture, when harvests are abundant, supply increases dramatically, causing prices to drop. Think of strawberries in peak season versus winter. Conversely, droughts reduce supply, driving prices up. Fuel prices demonstrate supply and demand beautifully. Global oil production levels determine supply, while consumer demand varies with economic conditions and seasonal travel patterns. Geopolitical events can suddenly restrict supply, causing price spikes. The housing market provides another clear example. In cities with limited housing supply and high demand from job seekers, prices soar. When new construction increases supply, price growth moderates. These real-world applications show how universal these principles are. Let's wrap up with the most important lesson. Supply and demand are the invisible forces that determine prices in every market. They work together like two sides of a scale, constantly adjusting to find balance. Understanding their interaction helps explain why prices rise, fall, and stabilize over time. When you see gas prices spike, you can now think about supply disruptions or increased demand. When products go on sale, you understand there might be excess supply. This knowledge empowers you to make better economic decisions as both a consumer and potentially as a business owner. Markets, balance, and prices are all interconnected through the elegant mechanism of supply and demand. Thank you for watching, and remember, economics is all around us.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit CodeLucky.com for more such useful content.